Yay! Welcome, Lisa. We are so excited here with Global GEG. I'm Stacy Klein, and I'm a co-leader with Global GEG and co-leader of GEG SoCal. I'm a teacher in the Santa Ana Unified School District and a major fan of EduProtocols and the amazing Lisa Nowakowski. And we're honored to have her present today. And she's the secret twin you didn't know about to John Crippo. She's going to make you laugh and make you learn a lot and just have a lot of fun. So thank you, Lisa.
Well, thank you for having me. This is exciting, a little scary for me all at the same time. So like the humor comes in because I don't know what to say. And so I just start rambling on at things. I had an aunt who used to get after me about that. She's like, when you get nervous, you just ramble. I'm like, yes, I do. And apparently I still do.
Not a worry. And the other good thing is Lisa is donating 2 books, signed copies, and we'll have a wheel of names at the end. So I'm going to step off stage and let Lisa do her magic, and then I'll pop back on and help with the raffle at the end. And you can just you can DM Global GEG with your physical address, so you don't have to put it in the YouTube chat. But thank you for joining us, everybody, and thank you, Lisa.
All right, thank you. Ooh, this is scary. I'm on the big screen, and I really miss the filters right now. Okay, so yeah, hi. So my name is Lisa Nowakowski. You can find me on Twitter at Nowatechie. I am a tech TOSA. For those people who aren't familiar with TOSA, that's teacher on special assignment. So I'm basically a technology coach. So I can, so I go around. Sorry, I was reading something. I apparently can't do 2 things at once. Multitasking is not my superpower. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm just kind of wanted to share a little bit about myself, share screen. See, I have to talk it out too, so you all get to see what this says. Yes, don't show the tips again. Okay, great. See, and I do that, and my students also know that I do that when I'm sharing screens. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, all right. So here we are. So math EduProtocols. So I'm so excited to share this, and I'm so excited that we have this platform to share out all the yummy goodiness that is math EduProtocols. Excuse me. So this is my information. So if you want to get a hold of me, feel free. Ooh, I'm very large on this screen. So if you want to get a hold of me, feel free to, you can either tweet at me, you can email me. You can find everything on MathReps. Oh, there was a lag there. There we go. I see it now. So we can see it on, you can get everything that you need from mathreps.com or .org. Either one work. I bought 2 domains because apparently I'm a fan of buying domains. All right. So what are EduProtocols? So EduProtocols they're just like these lesson frames. So think of it like a picture, and you just trade out the picture every day, right? So the frame stays the same, being whatever format you're using, but that content changes whenever you need it to. So the students aren't navigating, how do I use this? How do I use this? What does this pretty worksheet look like? And how do I navigate this pretty worksheet? And that is not a slight against pretty worksheets. I am a fan of people who make pretty worksheets. I really, really am. I'm not one of them. I am like the minimalist human being ever. I think it might be called laziness, but here we are. So welcome to everybody. This is so exciting to see like the stream come through. So this is what Marlena and John have coined as the EduProtocols. Hello, there we go. So the first one I want to look at, and remember, this is all these, some of these are like familiar ones. So some people, you might be familiar with Thin Slides. Thin Slides are an original one, but this entire book that we created, Jeremiah Roosh and I created, along with the help of John and Marlena, is math focused. So if you are like the K-8 or actually it goes into high school, but if you're that like, elementary school math teacher and like, math isn't my thing. So go ahead and check these out. We have like figured out how to do it. We have mathified everything for you, and it is successful. So Thin Slides, the teacher creates a slide deck. You can also use it in other programs like Nearpod. My district has Nearpod. So you can go ahead and use it in Nearpod and just easily change it. The students get one slide and they have a response. My dog says hello. You have one image, one word, and 3 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at what one might look like. So I did this one in Nearpod. The idea was, how can you represent the number 100? And you can see here, it's somebody who's 100 years old, two halves, somebody who did, 20 plus 20 plus 20, five $20 bills, all these different ways to represent that number. You can also do this with vocabulary words when you have, new vocabulary. I mean, how right? And they don't know like what a sum might necessarily mean. So these are really great activities for you to kind of go ahead and, have them show you what they know. And I'm sorry, there is no, oh my gosh, somebody's watching from the Philippines. What up? That's awesome. Hi, wow. So I lost my train of thought, and this is where life gets really fun and interesting because I like squirrel, right? Okay, so focus. So these are the examples. I don't have to create anything because the kids already know what to do. The checking time is super quick, right? I can visually look at it and say, oh, that's amazing. Great. They understand it. I can quickly look and see if somebody doesn't understand it. This is amazing. So this is really great. I love this stuff. So some other options, other tech options, you can use Google Slides. I'm a big fan of using Google Slides. I know what you're thinking, like what, everybody on one slide deck at once? Can't happen in the younger grades, right? I hear you, I hear what you're saying, and I'm here to tell you, you can do it. I promise you. I have done thin slides with second graders. I haven't tried it with first grade, and I am open to trying it with first grade. So you can throw everybody onto onto one slide deck. My tip for that is, and you'll see over here, is to assign there we go, is to assign slides, right? So go ahead and assign the slides, put the kid's name on each slide, and the kids can find their slide. Now, the trick with younger students, primary learners, I don't like calling them littles, so I call them primary learners. So with the primary learners, what we want them to do is, I give it to them, but they don't have editing rights right away. And we did this over the internet as well. So this was all distance learning that I did this. So it is possible. So we showed them the slide deck. We explained what was going to happen. I work in tandem with the teacher. We explained what was going to happen. We went through the whole process, and then we gave them editing rights. Yeah, they had to reload the page. Guess what? The primary learners can do it. If anything that we have learned from this pandemic is that we have sorely underestimated our primary students and what they can and can't do. And they can do so much more than we ever thought they could do. So we had them do it. Every now and then somebody deletes a slide or adds extra slides. The trick to that one is everybody hands up, show me your hands in the screen. And then we can go in, the teacher or I can go in and fix it. Sometimes they delete, a text box. Don't worry about it. They can tell you about it. You go in and you fix it for them. Things happen, but just go ahead and do it. So know that you can do this with primary learners. They are definitely capable of doing it. All right. So when to use this? You can use this with vocabulary, as I've said, numeracy. You can, we're just going to go into science concepts, themes of books, maybe a story or a passage, a reflection on their learning. What a great exit ticket. You have it all in one slide deck. You can quickly look at it and move on in life. You can even have kids writing comments on it. And then that way you don't have to do all of the checking. What? Have them do some of the work, right? That's what it's about. We're here to teach them how to think, right? Okay, so this next one is totally one of my favorite ones. And it's because it was created with students. So I know one of the administrators in my district had said that she was going to join. And if she is watching, she's at the middle school. Some of her 7th graders helped with this, which is amazing. So what you do is you give a prompt in a little speech bubble and you assign it, and it's a comic strip. So the kids have to work, they have to draw if they want to. I was a fan of the stick figure drawing. So I had a group of kids this year, it was a few years ago, who they were fans. They loved comics. They were all about Marvel, DC. We had deep um, deep thought processes, like, oh, they would just go into like what was better, the Flash or Green Arrow or DC versus Marvel. Like, so it was really inspiring for me. Um, and so we created this. Hopefully you can see this. So here's all to do it. But here's like an actual one. I think on the next slide, I have an example as well. So this character right here is Master of Dark. I keep calling it Master of Doom. So if y'all ever hear me call it Master of Doom, yell at me. We're good. So this is Master of Dark. My students came up with that name. This character, a student drew. Now, the cool thing about this is I had her 2 years ago. So shout out to that student. Her name is Nicole, and I do have permission from her parents to like celebrate her worldwide. And so she created this character, and we needed my stipulation was it needed to be a gender neutral character. Didn't care what it was, just that was your only thing. It's a gender neutral character, and we're going to name it a gender neutral name. So she went about creating this character, and she had a character, and we had it, and this was going, and we were really great. And then last year, about this time too, she contacts me and she says, "Hey, Miss Ann, do you remember Master of Dark?" I said, "Yes." She's like, "Oh, I totally redid the character. I was not a fan, did not like what I had done before, and I kept working on it." And she had this whole program that she worked on her iPad, and created and upped the character and created this. How amazing is that, right? So this whole thing was created by a student. I came in and I was like, "Okay, you guys love comic strips. Check it out. I created this." And they're like, "The font's wrong. That's not what it should look like." Like, okay, they set me straight on what an actual comic should look like. All right, fine. So I actually sat down in the back and we created this. It's called Mathemagicalville. It's a mouthful. I had a different name, but there was copyright issues with it, so I had to come up with a really wonky name. So we have Mathemagicalville. So this is the evil character, and the evil character is trying to stomp and to beat the hero. The hero being your students or your student. And you write the math problem here. It could be just you could work it out as a word problem. It could just be a numerical problem. Your choice, doesn't matter. And they have to break it down into the steps. So now you get to see their thinking, right? So that's what we want with those mathematical practices as well. We need to see their thought processes on how our students are thinking. And we want our students to be the heroes in all of this. And so they have to break it down. They actually have to write down. So they have to think about what they're going to do, and they're telling me what they're going to do. I need to multiply this. And then in the big box, they show me that. They can also draw themselves as the characters as well, and many of my students did. This little bubble down here was another student who was like, "Oh, you know what you should have?" He's like, "The teacher should be allowed to give hints. So if we think that they're going to get stuck in a process or somewhere, we go ahead and give them a hint." What? Yes, give them a hint. And then they can do it. And then right here, you can draw yourself being the hero or the kid being the hero. And yes, I did it and I beat you and ha. So now if you look carefully, it doesn't say name. It says the tales of. Not my idea, by the way. It was these 3 students. They were Nicole. So if that administrator in my district is listening, it was Nicole, Xavier, and Jaime. Those 3, they were like, "Oh, you can have, instead of name, put tales of, and then you put the student's name here." How cool is this? These were 5th graders, by the way. And have the teacher collect it, Miss N, and at the end of the year, you have a comic book of all of your math. I was like, You people are brilliant. So I have that. So not okay. So they don't even understand the brilliance of that. Yeah, they're cool. They're like, yeah, have our whole thing as, the comic strip and have a comic book at the end. But for us teachers, that means that we have a portfolio of their math work throughout the year. Right? Yeah. That's that. I think that's fantastic. So all of this is on. So if you go to the bit.ly link, you can get all of this there. And so this is an example of what you would do. So you have this, and here I have, my dog apparently is not a fan of this particular problem. So, okay. So you can just go ahead and help them give a hint. So you don't have to give a hint. It's just there if you want to. So it really is one of my favorite ones. I think because of the story behind it, I love it. So here we have other tech options. So again, you have, slides and PowerPoint. You can do it in Nearpod. You can do it in Pear Deck. They've got the drawing features in all of those. And I'm sure you could do it in Canvas and Seesaw and all of those other great tools that you use, right? So some low or no tech options, of course, you can put it in the plastic sleeve. You can have a kid take a picture of it and post that picture somewhere. So yeah, in the beginning, you really might want to give those students some hints on how to do this. I am a fan, as is anybody who does EduProtocols. It's fantastic when you work with them together. So you kind of do it together with them, just until they get what the protocol is, so that when they do see that paper again, they know exactly what to do. That problem changes, the paper doesn't. The beauty and brilliance of EduProtocols. All right, so again, you can use it for vocabulary, numeracy. Oh, I forgot to change this slide because I don't know what I was thinking last night. So I would do it. So ignore this slide because apparently I messed up. Hi, welcome to my world. So when I would use this particular one, it works fantastic for science. I think if you're going to break down some science concepts and explaining science, this is a great one for science. I also think it's great for word problems, multi-step problems where a student needs to break down the process of something, even if it's just multiplying 2-digit by 2-digit numbers. Well, they have to do the ones place by the first number, and then they have to do the tens place by the first number. You can have them break it down. You can modify that sheet as well. So if you need less boxes, then take out a box. If you need more boxes, make more pages, right? It's totally flexible based on your needs. Okay, so Sous Chef. Give me a moment, please, because it's tea time. All right. See, I just babble. I don't know anything right now, so I'm just babbling. So Sous Chef. This is a take on Iron Chef. So if you're familiar with the Iron Chef protocol, EduProtocol, Iron Chef has students. It's really great for like an anticipatory set. So the students get new information. They all work on the same slide together, or they work on the same slide deck together, excuse me, and everybody and there's a time constraint to it. And because time is of the essence on that one. John and I had a really lengthy discussion on this one. And I'm like, it's an Iron Chef. He's like, no, it can't be named Iron Chef. And he was very, very adamant about it. And I couldn't see his viewpoint in the beginning. And then I did understand where he was coming from, the time constraint and the use of it. While this was a take on Iron Chef, it was not an Iron Chef. So we need to be really, really careful on that. And he was really adamant on that. And I appreciated his feedback and guidance on that one. So this actually came out of a teacher in Union City School District up in the Bay Area. Was like, hey, could you do something like this? I was doing an Iron Chef, and she was like, oh, hey, can this be worked out for math? And I was like, oh my God, that's kind of brilliant. Yes. So that was her idea. So most of these ideas are not my ideas. I do credit the people who do it. I don't remember her name off the top of my head, so I do apologize. So in this one, just like an Iron Chef, a teacher creates a slide, and there are 4 activity slides for the students. And so you group your students in groups. in groups of 4, 3 or 4 for this one, I would say. The activity has a math problem to solve. My favorite one is to show addition of fractions, 5th grade. That was a really good one, and we'll get into that in a moment. And then you set a timer. Now, this is really important. The timer is not to put pressure on them and that they have to get it done in a certain amount of time. You give them the amount of time that you feel is needed. So, okay, great. Like, here it is, and this is the amount of time that we need for this. And then they do it. So the timer is for what's called Parkinson's law. If you give a kid 20 minutes to do something, 20 minutes, and they're really only going to work on it for like 3 minutes, right? Give them the 3 minutes. That's what the Parkinson's law is about. So it's based on that. The students do work independently in groups of 4. The leader shares the slide. This can be done very easily within Google Classroom. Each student chooses a slide, they have the prompt on their slide, and then all the groups present. And the beauty part of that is, there we go. I apparently skipped a bunch of slides there. So the beauty part of all of this is if you give each group the same concept to do, they're hearing what to do each time. So looking at this, so this would be a slide deck that I would give my kids. And I actually did give my students. So they had to, it was a fraction problem. So I would put the fraction problem here. And this student had to do the area model. This student had to do it on the number line. This student had to use the algorithm. Now, this is where you can either have a student do it, or you can have the entire group do this one, depending on your grouping of students. Write a problem that relates to that fraction, that addition fraction problem, right? That's the hard part. So what the students are doing is they are, even if I give everybody the same problem, 1/5 plus 2/3, right? They're hearing how to do the area model 5 times. They're hearing how to do the number line 5 times. They're hearing the process of an algorithm 5 times. I don't know why it keeps jumping. There we go. I think it's my internet. Welcome to living like in the middle of nowhere. My internet gets a little wonky every now and then. So this is, I love this because they just hear it so many times. The same thing as with Iron Chef, right? So again, here are your options on how, on what to do it with. I'm sure there are other ones that people can think of, like Canva. I've been getting into Canva lately. There are some great non or low tech options. So like when you're in person, or if you're in an area and you're still doing digital learning or virtual learning and some of the internet isn't really great, there are options for you. Like there's always a workaround. And my students knew that. They were like, you always have a workaround for everything. I'm like, yes, I do. This is really important. Whereas Iron Chef is like a front loading kind of activity. This is a review activity. So you are reviewing previously learned concepts. And back is that they can see how these connect to the algorithm. So we're teaching those deeper thinking skills, which is so vitally important, right? I'm such a fan of like making them think. Okay, so my dog is freaking out behind me because I'm just gonna have an aside right here because I've got one of those robotic vacuums because again, efficiency in life, right? Yeah, so now she's freaking out behind me. So fun times over here. This is where it all started. Math reps, the OG. Great story behind the word math reps as well. First of all, I didn't come up with the name. Are you noticing a theme here, right? My friend and I also have a podcast called TLC Ninja Teachers with Nancy Minicozzi. So as we were starting to do this, or I was creating these, I needed a name for it. And Nancy is the one that came up with the name. And for like the last year, I'm like, it's one word, it's one word. And I'm like shaking fists, it's one word. Yeah, somebody pointed out, and I want to say it was Jennifer Dean. So go Jennifer Dean. She's like, in book one, it's written as 2 words. I was like, oh, I wrote that stuff that's in book one. So apparently I have decided to change it from 2 words to 1 word. So yeah, that's what happened on that one. So sorry about that, folks. So so I keep saying, your husband is afraid of the vacuum. Oh my goodness, how funny. All right, so sorry, side notes, right? Focus, focus. Oh, there's this one, sorry, I'm gonna go off again. There's this one TikToker, Hot Mess Express Pinky something or something like that. She's hysterical. She goes off on all these little rants and she's like, okay, focus, focus. And every time I say that, I think of her. All right, anyhow. So the teacher you don't even have to create them because they've been created for you. Like if you create them and you want them to be a part of it, and to be a part of the grander collection, we would greatly appreciate that. There's a couple of us that are trying that kind of, collaborate and work together on these things. So the teacher chooses a skill set to practice. You copy it. You can be either digital or physical. You give it to the students, you introduce it to them in the beginning, and I'm going to go over how to do this. And then you check it immediately so they get that immediate feedback. So let's look at what this right here, my friends, is the OG math prep. This is the first one I ever created. And the story behind this one is that I was watching John Crippo one year, who knows, and he had in a conference, and he was talking about 8 parts of speech, and that was one of his original EduProtocols as well. And the beauty behind that one is, I keep saying that I have to get that phrase out of my vocabulary. I'm now realizing. So the wonder about 8 parts of speech is, oh, it's all on one page and you don't ever have to make up anything again. All 8 parts are there. There's a picture. Check it out, right? And I'm going to be locked in here with the vacuum because it just closed the door on me. Oh dear. All right. Hi. So I was like, that is brilliant. I can do something like that for math. Actually, I didn't say I can do something like that for math. I need something like that for math because in 5th grade, in the beginning of the year, these are the skills that we work on. Number NBTs, right? Number based tens, the place value, all of those great things. There we go. All of those things. And then 2nd trimester, we work on fractions, all fractions all the time, every day, right? And then 3rd trimester, we get into measurement and geometry. Well, by the time 3rd trimester comes around, my students had forgotten this because there wasn't enough spiral review throughout the year with whatever curriculum we had. So I was like, I need something. This is brilliant. And then I sat down to do it and I was like, oh dear, I can't do just one paper. And then I realized I was like, I made a lot of work for myself is what I ended up doing. So I just sat down and I did this. Now, John and I sat down and kind of really looked at like how many standards were being, oh good, a dog has come in to save me to open up the door. Right? You get nothing but side notes from me. So, you look at this, you have anywhere between, I want to say 9 and 11 different standards that are on here. So you have 10 times greater, you have, 10 times less. Here you go ahead and see and there's adding with the decimals, subtracting with the decimals, writing a number. So they're not just comparing. So we do talk about comparing to today's number. So today's number is the only thing that I do on the reg. So the students don't only just compare, they have to actually show understanding that, yeah, I know what number is less or what number is greater. Oh, here it is. They have to show that. So it's a little bit of a deeper skill for them, which I appreciate. You're rounding, you're doing the powers of 10 because that's a standard. You have your word form, your expanded form, putting it, a decimal to a fraction. How long do the kids usually take to do these math reps? That's a great question, Mel. So the first day, buckle in, my friend. It's like 45 minutes of torture on your end. I'm sure it's torture on their end, but I don't really care. It does really depend on the topic and how many are on here. This was a heavy duty one. I do have other ones that don't take nearly as long because there's just 2 multiplication and a division on it. And that's all they need to do on it. So it does go a little bit quicker. For something like this, depending on your group of kids, the first time I did it 6 years ago, I could do the entire page in one sitting, like introduce it to them, and we were good to go. As the years have progressed, I have my suspicions that it's more to do with our math curriculum, but I don't have any actual data. So again, if that like middle school administrators watching me, yeah, sorry about that one. I haven't been able to do that, and I've had to break this paper down between 2 days. Otherwise, it's just too much for the students. So it really depends on your grouping of kids. So hopefully that answered your question, Mel. And so we would go through this. Now, a really great story happened 2 years ago now, because last year was pandemic year. So 2 years ago now, our grade level we're prepping for the state test, and we gave them just an example question, that they might encounter, and my students did really well on it. It had to do with adding and subtracting fractions, right? So look at this one. This one's really mean. It always has a 0, so they have to practice that regrouping. Because now I know you, like, second grade teachers have begun the process of teaching them how to regroup. Third grade, you're like, did they not learn this? Fourth grade, you're like, what have you been doing in life? By fifth grade, you're like, are you kidding me? Right? And it's not the teachers, it's for whatever reason, it isn't ingrained. So now they have to like regroup every day. I mean that way. So one of my class did really well on this one task. And again, it was about just adding decimals, right? And I thought, oh, that's easy, right? Well, another teacher in my grade level thought, my students didn't know what to do with the decimal. They were a hot mess during this whole thing. And I was like, oh God, that's really weird. So I went back to my class. It was the end of the year. So we had already created a culture of having a safe environment, that we talk open and honest. We don't compare ourselves to anybody, but we reflect on things. And so I went back to my students. I said, hey, you know what? Like, you guys did really good on this problem, but this other class didn't. Like, they struggled with where to put the decimal. Like, I'm just honest with my kids, probably too honest at times, but okay, there's that. And I was like, what did we do differently than that? Like, I honestly wanted to know. Like, I didn't know why we were successful and her students had struggled. And one of my students just candidly was like, it's the math reps, Miss Ann. You make us do that stuff all the time. What he was really saying, let me translate that into teacher speak, is we now have the muscle memory because we've done enough repetitions to just know what to do. So it's like riding a bike. When you first ride it, you don't know what to do and you're wobbly. But, by the time you're older and you've ridden a bike, every day or every week, it's that muscle memory. You get on and you know exactly what to do. So that's what these math reps do. And that is the wonder. And for me, I didn't even realize the brilliance of this. I probably still don't. Like, John Carippo, recognized the brilliance in this right away, and saw him at a conference. He was like, come here, tell, and I don't remember who it was, tell them about what you're doing. Because I had written a blog post about it, and I was only going to do this for my class. And I was sharing it out, whatever, I don't care. I'm an oversharer. I'm a chronic and things, but just with stories as well. So it is, I think if it's done continuously, the impact is super powerful. It is not a part of any curriculum. And I have been questioned by administrators. Does this fit in with our curriculum? You know what? Don't care. It's really good pedagogy. It's really good stuff. And it does what it does. Fortunately, I was asked in a group of people, and somebody else had the answer for me. I was like, oh, yeah, what they just said. What they just said. And I know the administrator was just trying to do the best job that they can. But if you're an administrator, please be open to other things, right? So that's my little take on that, sorry. So there are tech options. The majority of these, and you can go through it, you can find everything at mathreps.com. And my door's closed again, and now I'm stuck in here with a vacuum cleaner that's very loud, and I don't like it. And it's freaking me out a little bit. I've got a little bit of anxiety now about this. Okay, great. So we do have most of them on Jamboard. So we had students in our district this year. This year was the first year that other teachers in my district began using MathReps, which is kind of funny because I co-created some of them with another teacher a few years ago. Anyhow, the second grade team in our district, quite a bit of them had it just they copied it off and they put it in a plastic sleeve and they had the kids doing it. Oh, good, nobody can hear my vacuum. Woo-hoo! Because I can, and it's driving me a little bit nuts because I have a noise sensitivity as well. So they put it in there, but then we started going into Jamboard, and so our students have touchscreen Chromebooks, so they were able to just write on their Chromebook and do these activities. So we are seeing some success with these in our district, so I'm super happy about that. Again, I apparently was tired when I did this, and I didn't change this slide either, so go me, yay. So this is really great for that continuous learning, and the beauty, again, I got to get that out of my brain. They do start to see some of those interconnecting concepts, how the decimal and the fraction relate, how the 10 times more, 100 times more, 10 to the third power. That was a suggestion from another teacher in my district, Brett Harrison. He's like, yeah, make it 10 to the third power because that's a standard in our unit. I was like, good point. So, this has just been a collaborative effort from so many different people. So what does that look like in your classroom, right? Like, how do you get this started? Because it can be very overwhelming. Well, first you go to mathreps.com or mathreps.org, same website, right? You go there and you find the one that you need, and then you assign it to your students. It could be digitally, it could be on paper. I was a fan of doing it on paper originally. I still am, actually. If I were back in the classroom, I would still be doing it on paper. I want them writing. I've gone into classrooms this year as a TOSA to guide students through it on Jamboard. I've also guided them on it through Nearpod, because my district has Nearpod. So those are really user-friendly things that you can use it on. Amanda Sandoval, who is like a middle school history teacher, for her son, she created a Pokemon one on Hair Deck, right? So these can be all done. We don't encourage people to do copyrighted images because we all get in trouble for those sorts of things. So make sure that when you're using images that they're free to use. So what does it look like? So the first week you introduce it. I enjoy walking through it together with them. And it's going to take 45 minutes. I'm not kidding you. Pounding your head against a brick wall is going to feel a whole lot better than doing it. Like, it is teacher torture. Stick with it. I promise you. How often would you use MathReps? I use them pretty much every day. Every day I use them. Yeah. So that was a really great question. You don't have to. So I'll go into like how you can kind of mix it up. And I started to mix it up after a while because my students started to groan after a while, and I was embarrassed by that. So you introduce it the first day and it takes up to 45 minutes, right? And you're like, oh my God, this is painful. The second day you do it, 15 minutes off your time. Third day you do it, you're still working together. You have kids going, can I just go ahead? Because they're done with your slow pace. Thursday of that week, the fourth time you do it, you legit have it down to 12 to 15 minutes. And that was for my original one that I just showed you. Again, depending on which one you use, it's going to be even less time than that. I think the first one I showed you is the largest one I had with a lot of standards and work to be done on it. And then Friday of that first week, it's an either or kind of thing. You can give it as a baseline assessment. The kids are going to freak out on you. And if you have that kind of classroom culture where they, where you're like, no, it's okay. Like, we're just using this to see like where you're starting from. And then we can go from there. Or if your kids are going to freak out on you, don't give it as an assessment the first week. Don't do it on Friday. Just take it away from them. Like, whatever, don't worry about it. As you have the routine going, just set a set time to finish and check it. Now, it depends on how you are. So going back to this one, you might want to give a set time for, I always did things weird. So like, it's very peculiar for me. So I always did the center first, and then I went to the left, and then I went to the right. I don't know. My brain is a very wacky place. It's welcome to the jungle up there, right? So I would maybe do just the center aisle, and then center column, and then check it. Give them a time. Do the, this is how my brain works. Do the left, check it. Do the right, check it. So that we'll have 3 different checking times. It takes a little bit longer, but if your kids need that, do what your kids need. If you're going to split this into maybe 2 days, then, you know, you figure out where those things are. And then as you get going, I do recommend giving the same paper as an assessment on Fridays. We also have a recording sheet that you can download, and the students can reflect on like what they need to do. And I did that last year, and I said, okay, what do you need to do? And of course I had kids who are, I want to do everything right. I'm 100%. I'm like, okay, like you did one thing this week, right? Like you've got 8 other things on this paper. Let's not do that. Let's set you up for success. You know, pick one more thing that you're going to master this week. Okay, great. You know how to do 10 times more. Let's do 10 times less, or 1/10 less. Let's focus on that. And yeah, they can do those things. So it generally works out really well that way for them. Now, with students who, from me, 2 weeks in a row, they get proficiency, whatever proficiency is for you. If they get proficiency, they don't need to do the math reps the following week. I give them a break. Like, they don't need to do it. They obviously have it. Why am I going to make them do something? That's when they get something extra. They have to create something great. Because I'm a fan. I'm not creating more. Work smarter, not harder. Great. You're creating a video tutorial on how to, you know, do multiplication with the algorithm. Go, and it's due by Friday, and it better blow my socks off. Go. So I pick something on that assessment that they're working on, or the math prep that they're working on, in order to, you know, create something. And I'm a fan of that. And then their work gets put up on YouTube, the teacher YouTube channel, and we have it for our, you know, on our website, so that students can then go back in and look at how to do something told from the perspective of their peer. So, hi, it's a win-win for everybody. And I didn't have to do any of the work, right? Brilliant. All right, so we do have some other ones that that you can check out. I'm not going to talk about them. Something called Right Bites. Think about it as number talks, but more. There is tic-tac-toe math, which was fantastic. I had a teacher last year, a resource teacher, a SPED teacher, who used it in her class last year. She modified it from what I had done, and she actually made it better. So shout out to Tressa Luke on that one. She was like, oh yeah, no, like I had done too much work on it, right? She went the work smarter, not harder route, and decided that it was, no, like she just decided, like, this is what you're doing in these squares. You roll the dice and figure it out yourselves. So shout out to Tressa on that one. And finally, we have Fast and Curious. Now, I was dead set against this one. I was going to prove Carippo wrong, right? Like, this was my whole thing. Like, we fought one day. He was like, you've got to do Fast and Curious for math facts. I was like, no, no, it's too much like time math facts. He's like, do it. I was like, no, do it. I'm like, no. He's like, do it. I'm like, all right, I'll do it. And I was like, secretly in my, and I hate it. It's going to cause anxiety, blah, blah, blah. So here I am today eating those words. I have a former student, my special little bunny, who is now at the middle school. She would do Fast and Curious. We used quizzes. Now, there are several platforms that you can use. You can use quizzes. You can use, I use GimKit. No, not GimKit. I'm sorry. You can use GimKit, but I used Blookit yesterday with first graders. All right. So you can do this with first graders and subtraction facts. Look at, and wordwall.net. So those are 4 really good ones that you can look at. Oh, and Kahoot. So 5, right? So on that, you give them some math facts, no more than 10 or 15 math facts. Stick with the same, number set for the week. My special little bunny last year realized there was a little bit of an incentive too. So I had classroom economy going in my class last year. So if they got proficiency, they got money. And she wanted the money. So she would do it. And she knew she could get 1 wrong because there would be a redemption question at the end. So as soon as she got 2 wrong, homegirl pieced out and then pieced back in again because she wanted the money. So she was doing twice as much work as everybody else, right? Yeah, great story. So, so she wanted to, and soon, like the rest of the class started figuring out what she was doing. They're like, that's not fair. She's doing that. She's getting out and getting back in again. She says it kicked her out, but it didn't. She did it on her own. I was like, uh-huh. And they're like, but Miss N. I was like, what's your point? You did 10 problems. She did like 18. Do you think I'm going to complain that she voluntarily did more work than everybody else? Voluntarily. So I had to eat those words. My kids not only loved it, they begged for it because I wasn't going to do it on Fridays. They begged for it. So I did that. Oh, going back to math reps. Sorry. So maybe for us, Wednesdays are a weird day. So maybe you do math reps Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, the assessment, and Wednesday is a fun day where you do maybe estimation 180 or a 3-act math task. And I've been doing 3-act math tasks with first graders very successfully, I might add, digitally. So it's pretty awesome. You can do a whole multitude of other things. Which one doesn't belong? All sorts of great math problems like that. So here are some resources for you, right? So you can go to mathreps.org. You can go to EduProtocols.com. There are 3 fantastic books out there that you can get, and you can win one of them today. What? I mean, I'm giving away 2 of them, but you know what I'm saying, right? So there's the Field Guide Book 1. There it is. There's Field Guide Book 2. There it is. Field Guide Book 3, the Math Edition. Yay! Right? All right. And we would not be in this lovely gloriousness of where we are right now if it were not for these 2 amazing human beings, Marlena Hebern and John Carippo. Again, here are their books. And here is my information again if you need anything. So thank you for joining me. Wow, 45 minutes, that went by quickly. I didn't even think I would have enough time, or I would not have enough stuff. Apparently, I'm really good at yammering on.
No, you did a wonderful job, Lisa, and we're so excited. And thanks again. And I love when you said you can win a book, but actually I'm giving away 2, but you can only win one of them. This is awesome. Yeah. Great job. Great job. So is everybody ready for Lisa to spin the wheel of names? You have your own wheel, right, Lisa?
I have a wheel. Where am I going to find the names on the...
On your form. On the form that
okay. You share. Ooh, and we have very good chances. Oops. Let's see. Control V. All right, so y'all missed out. I don't know what to tell you. So there's a very good chance here. Let me go back and share my screen. Share. That one. Share. Sorry, I have to do that out loud. So, right, like, hi. All right, so here we are. So the first person is, click to spin, click. Dun, 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 dun. Oh no, the vacuum cleaner is locking me in my room again, giving me anxiety. Oh!
Janice, winner, chicken dinner.
Woohoo!
Yay!
All right, and one more. Spin one more time. Yeah. Ooh, you've got a 25% chance of winning. Yay!
And Janice, drop your Twitter handle in the chat so we can DM you. Jenna, congratulations.
Right on. I will get those two out in the mail this week. And the cool thing too is my mailers, because I caught a deal. Like what my mailers are. How cool is that?
Yay.
All right.
So everybody, Lisa has open DMs if you follow her. So just DM her your address, and then that'll be a nice secure way for you to get your book mailed to you. Congratulations. Yay. Well, fantastic, Lisa. We really enjoyed it. You definitely don't ramble. You're amazing. So the more you share,
It definitely
more,
feels like I ramble.
no. The more you share, the more fun it is. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you for having me. This was super fun.
Yeah. Anybody have any last minute questions for Lisa before we outro out of here? Yay. Great job. Well, thanks again for coming, Lisa. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a fantastic day, everybody. Bye.
Bye.